And hello, pedal aficionados. My name is Henning Pauli. I'm saying this slowly because someone said, no matter how many times he says it, I can't understand the name. Henning Pauli. HP. Look at the channel name. Maybe now you get it. Okay. We're looking at the new stereo dual loop. That's what it's called. Dual loop stereo from Nux. Right off the bat, I'm telling you, it's pretty cool. It's pretty straightforward for a device that technically could be very complicated. And I'm usually very scary of these things because it's so much manual reading and understanding the modes and all that stuff. None of that's happening here. But also because it's still missing software-wise a couple of things that I would like to see. So we're going to go through what it does, what it doesn't do yet, but what it probably will do, because I already reported these things to Nux and they said, great, mention it in the video. Our team is going to be on it. Now that's what we want to hear from a company. I don't mind if they've forgotten some things that they, with their point of view, don't see. But once they realize, oh, that would be good, and they can realize it software-wise, let's put it in there. So before we can put anything into the dual loop stereo, we got to take it out of the box. So let's look at some product shots while I play a nice loop. How about that? Okay, now we get into it. That's what it looks like. Well, you know what it looks like. You've just seen it. There's a lot of shadows on it. We have a spooky mode happening here. So let's look at the front panel. Let's look at the back. Let's loop a bit. Let's go into the menu. And then we go into what I'd like to see in addition to what it already has. It's a 2-channel looper, very nicely visualized with these 2 circles right here. So you can always see the 2 channels. Now, it can be 2 channels or 2 successive tracks. So you could have an A part and a B part. Very nice. Or you could have, in another mode, 2 channels going at the same time, synchronized. Pretty straightforward. We've got 3 foot switches, but as you could see in the unboxing, they are very cool and they're giving you an external foot switch and a cable right there in the box. And I've got it on the ground right here. You can use it. You can see one of the jacks is not used. That's in single mode, and you can use it with a TRS cable in dual mode. I'm using a very long TRS cable, and right now I'm really just mirroring the 2 foot switches on the pedal, the first and the second one. You can very easily go into the menu, go all the way to the right. There is expression foot switch, and then you simply say what you want from your foot switch. You can go a group up and down, stop and clear, so that would be that foot switch. Drums on and off. You can tap the tempo, which is convenient. You can turn the octave on off, which we already revealed right now. There's an octaver in there. The boost on and off, the reverb on and off. and remote foot switch 1 and 2, which is what we want. So right now I've got remote foot switch 1 and 2. So these two on the pedal, I now have doubled on the floor. Pretty cool. Same thing you can define for the control foot switch right there. That would be here. You can define what that does. What it does in A+B Sync mode or what it does in split and gig mode. For different modes, you can define different functionality that gives you some nice tailor-made control the way that you like to control the pedal. We have the 2 tracks and you have actual hands-on volumes for each track. Super cool. You don't have to go in the menu. You see visualization of what you're setting up there. Pretty straightforward. And you have individual drum parts for each track if you wanted that. And you have individual volumes for that as well. Illustrated in orange. Illuminated and illustrated are literally the same word. They just sound different. You've got a mic level, because it is a looper with a mic input. And you've got a master. That is for everything. This, you change between the modes. There is the A+B split mode, the A+B sync mode, and the gig mode. We're going to get to that. It needs a couple more modes, Nux. We'll talk about that. The drum style, can turn the drums on, can turn the drums off. You can define the drums for each of the 2 parts by actually clicking here. And then you can see the little drum symbol changes. And that's how you define what you want for each part. Tap tempo. And once you like everything, you can save. The whole thing has about 90 minutes of looping, which is utterly ridiculous. In, as far as I can tell, 32-bit float wave. You can hook it up to a computer when you are in the import-export wave files mode, which is standard. You plug in a cable, and then it shows up as a hard drive. And you can A, change the little boot up picture, which is kind of neat. And B, you can access every loop's A and B track. So 1 and 2 track. And grab what you have looped there. So you can just take the loop off and use it in your DAW or wherever you like. That's pretty cool. In high quality, you could also drop your own stuff in there. If you want to do backups, backing tracks, whatever, you can put a backing track into loop number 1 and then still loop a rhythm guitar over it if you wanted to practice that. That's all possible. And you do need to do 32-bit float wave stereo. But for that, Nux has a file converter that helps you convert it into the right file format. So you drop your files in there, converts the MP3 or whatever into the right file format, and then you can throw it into the dual loop stereo. So pretty neat. You can get that off the website. Alternatively, you go to USB audio stream, and then it becomes your audio interface. But you have to reboot it for that. Okay, fine. And there's an input and an output level. Now let's talk about USB audio stream for a second. It has OTG, which means you could go to the USB input of an action cam, like a GoPro or like a Pocket 3 from DJI, and directly record what you're doing on it to an action cam or to your phone. And the great thing about that is if you wanted to do, reels, social media content, or record at a trade show or anywhere directly to your action cam, you can use this and the whole output is going to go directly to your video file. Please watch Perfecto de Castro's video on this, who is going to show you a couple of other things that I'm not doing. For example, he recorded the whole video on 2 action cams, doing all the audio on one of them directly through the dual loop stereo, including his shotgun mic, which went into input number 1. He didn't use an audio interface, didn't use a computer. The whole video was shot audio sidewise with this as his interface going into an action cam. That's daring, but he did it and it worked really well. It's very impressive that it can do that. Let's go into the modes quickly. A+B split mode. That simply means track 1 is one part, track 2 is the other part. They are synced to the tempo and the drum beat. Even if you hit stop a little bit before the measure is over, it will record to the end of the measure. So you're kind of tied to the length of your drums. which is good because you don't have to loop precisely, but it's also bad because you are not the master of the length of the loop, right? And then you can record on track 2 with different drums, for example, and have an A-B part, meaning you play loop number 1 and then you play loop number 2, and it's a verse chorus kind of situation. I will show you that. Then you've got A+B Sync, which is 2 tracks like you would have on a DAW. They play in sync with the same drums. You will here switch with this foot switch. It's a little bit not great that they're using red and green, because red and green is to illustrate recording and on and off and whatever, but this is confusing. I think it should have been maybe blue and purple or something, just to show you that this is a different function than on the other foot switch. So here you switch between the 2 tracks, and then you do your play, record, overdub with the left foot switch. Stop is still here, or double tap like on any other ditto or whatever on the foot switch. Then this is also tied to the tempo of your drum groove, by the way. If you want free looping, you have to be in gig mode. There's no drums, and you define when the loop is over by hitting record again, just like on any looper. That's a free speed and length, untied, not tied to a tap tempo. And then you go to the second part, and that again is your B part. So you have an A and a B part. It's not 2 tracks at the same time. And I told them that that's a bit of an issue, because what if I want that? What if I want a 2-track freely performed loop without a click track? Well, right at the moment, it can't do that. But they immediately said, yeah, obviously that makes sense. We should add that. But then they would be synced in length, right? So the second one would automatically always have the same length or double length as the other one, and they would sync at their 0 point. I say, well, what if you want to be experimental? And you want one loop to be a certain length, the other one to be a shorter length, but then always loop around and create cool atmospheres on top of each other for ambient shit. Well, that would be a 5th mode. That would be free, non-synced dual track mode, whatever you want to call it. And again, he said, that makes sense. We should do that. So look out for updates for this, because they get it. They just didn't think of it. It also doesn't have a slowdown, well, kind of does, which is actually cool, but it doesn't have a half speed or reverse in all of these, freaky kind of looper modes. It's pretty much just a straightforward 2-channel looper. Okay. I'll show you the back now, and then how it works. XLR combo input with 48 volt, which is absolutely amazing. And later in the video, we actually have a band performing with it, looping percussion. Input number 2, stereo out, which can be configured in certain ways. I will show you. Aux in, MIDI in and out, phones, expression input, 9 volt. In the menu, we start with the display, brightness, boot up picture, language is either Chinese or English, not the most variation there. Do you want instant recording, a pre-beat, or detecting the playing? If you're not playing to drums, instant recording is what you want. When you're playing with drums, a pre-beat is a good idea, but very simple functionality there. Dubbing is, of course, record, play, dub, or record, dub, play, depending on how you want that. How is stop happening? Immediately, it's one-shotting to the next ending, or it's playing the loop once to the loop end or fade out. So depending on how you like that. The path is important. Mic and instrument mono into the inputs and out. So 2 mono inputs. A stereo in out for stereo effects. So it's fully stereo. Or a split out, which is what I'm doing right now. So the drums and the guitar are going out of individual outputs, which is what you would want when you're going to a PA or something with the drums, because you want the full range, but your guitar is supposed to be going through a guitar speaker. That would make the most sense, which is the way we're doing it right now. headphone volume, effects. There's an octave effect if you want to do a fake bass, right? It's okay, it's not the greatest, but it works. We got boost, which will make shit louder. Now I'm pushing it too hard because I'm boosting. So you could foot switch a boost to get your guitar a little bit louder for certain parts. And then there's actually a cap sim. So you could go in straight with a drive pedal or something and forego the whole amp thing. What I have right now, I've got the UAD, the UA Lion in front of it as my modeler. Obviously, Nux makes great modelers. There's a whole new amp factory, whatever. But you know what? They didn't send me one, so I couldn't show it. So we're using the Lion. And let's try this right now. Gonna crank up the Lion to drive a bit. And this is the Lion without its speaker simulation. Ew. So, does this work? It absolutely works. So if you go in with a shitty, non-speaker simulated guitar sound, the Dual Loop Stereo has you covered. This is really all there is in terms of menu, right? Showed you the rest already. Did I? Wait. Effects, USB, control, expression, MIDI. Okay, and reset. Yep. So we're going to start in this mode, which is the two, let's call it the 2-track or the 2-part mode. We can see we have a tempo. Turn the drums on. Volume. I'm holding in the drums longer now. And it's showing me a very nice grid next to a really nice drum kit. Up here, I can change the drum kits and also the styles. Rock, pop. But that's a very simple beat, right? So, you go complexity. And then you click it and you go variation. You switch between 1 and 2, which is another way of doing this. I see. And here you can switch between 3/4 and 4/4. And that's obviously an issue. Because if the loops are automatically synced to the time, right? Then only having 3/4 and 4/4 is absolutely not going to cut it. Where is 6/8? Where is 12/8? Where is 7/8? You need a lot more time signatures if 2 of the 3 loop modes are tied to your time signature. We don't all want to work in 4/4, right? So that is a bit of an issue. And the response I got from Nux was like, yeah, absolutely, we're on it. That's what we want to hear. So we're in 4/4. Well, the tempo, we don't need that because we can tap that. It's tapable. One of the things you can immediately hear, the balance of the drum kit. I think the sounds are fine. They're not cheap drum kit sounds, but the balance is off. There's a lot of hi-hat and some kick drum, but where's the rest? So I think they're going to have to just work on the mix a little bit and get it a little bit more homogeneous. The hi-hat is a little bit annoying. Now we picked 2 different beats for our 2 parts. And now I'm recording a loop on 1. Remember, I've got a foot switch here on the ground, which also doubles as my 1 and 2. Either double tap 1 to stop it, or just hit the foot switch on the very right, which would stop it. Now I could, once it stopped, hold in 1 to erase only loop 1, or hold in the control foot switch to erase everything. Now we're gonna play number 1, but arm number 2, and immediately start recording once number 1 is done. So we've just created 2 parts, including a little overdub plus a little bass. Pretty straightforward. Just with any other looper, it will take a little bit of time to get used to when you got to click and stuff like this. Looping is a little bit of an art form and it takes practice. There's a looper course by Paul Davids, which is probably a good idea to take if you want to really get into it. So I can now save this and recall it at my gig or as a backing track if I want to. I can now go hook it up to my computer with USB-C and drag those tracks off it if I so choose. There's also, which I forgot, a reverb, which I now added to the line. Nice. A+B Sync Mode only has 1 drum pattern. Why is that missing 1 clap? It's boots and cats, but then there's 1 Katzen is missing. Okay, that's, because it would have done multiples of loop number 1. This could have gone on a long time, and there would have been, again, multiples of each other. But now I have control over the 2 loops. I can play this one, or at the same time. So right now I can only play this one. Double tap, or this one. And obviously I could change the drums right now if I wanted to, right? So this behaves like 2 tracks on your DAW. Here's something that I didn't show you for mode number 1, which does work in mode number 1. Yes, you can change the tempo after the fact and therefore change the tempo of your loop and all associated tracks. Pretty cool. Cannot do that in the gig mode where there's no drums because there's no tap tempo. So that technically should also be possible with BPM or something. Gig mode. Now we have 2 consecutive loops again, not at the same time. Let's do it simple. So we're recording loop number 1, but freely. Do you hear that? That's a bug. I reported that to them. That needs to be fixed because now it did a wobble in loop number 1. It sounds as if it had slowed down a bit, maybe. It's a bit weird. So I can play loop number 2. It did something weird to loop number 1 now. That happened to me before, and I said to them, there's an issue, but I can't replicate it. It sucks for them that it happened in the video, because that's what we do here. All you asses who call me a paid chill. There's the issue. Luckily for Nux, that's a software issue that I'm pretty sure that right now they have a meeting about to fix it, which they will, I know. It's a good company that's been in business for a long time for a good reason. So that can happen. It's not good when it does. So as I said, I think it should have more modes. Because right now this is a consecutive, you play that and then play that part after each other. It should have that free mode without the drums also in parallel and unsynced. Where is a foot switch for reverse, for fun stuff? We need 3/4 and 4/4 and 6/8 and 7/8 and 9/8. Some funky stuff, weird stuff, proggy stuff. So there is room for improvement. Also, what if you want to record, let's say, the 2 tracks with your bass player? So I'm plugging myself into input number 1 and plugging my bass player into input number 2, or I'm plugging the guitar in input number 2 and my mic into input number 1. Now, there should be a mode where I'm recording these 2 inputs onto 2 tracks separately, but at the same time, to be treated differently later. The hardware can do it, no question about that, but there aren't modes for that. So I think one of the bottom lines of this video, the hardware is great. The potential of this box is amazing. It just needs communication from the community, and I'm part of the community, to them saying, oh, you didn't do that. We would like that. Because right now it's actually listening to both inputs at the same time. That's not great. What if you've got different things plugged into both inputs? You should be able to select which input you want to record. Input 1, input 2, or both of them at the same time. And then where does each input go? Where does input 1 go? Where does input 2 go? Do they both go onto the currently armed track? Or does 1 always go to track 1 and 2 always go to track 2? You can see there's a lot of shit that this thing is supposed to do. It just doesn't do it yet. But my hunch is that the company behind it gets it and will implement these things. So, talking about the mic input, here's me in a different studio with a couple of people a week ago testing the mic input. And here we are now looking at the mic input of the Nux Stereo looper. We have it in, what is it called? A+B individual mode, where you can have 2 different parts. I don't remember what it's called. The first one. So, Sebastian, that guy, approached me last week and said, what do we do if we wanted to kind of record a groove from the cajon for our two-man acoustic cover thing so that Niklas, which is that guy, can play bass? And I said, well, do I have the product for you? And let's test it out, because the stereo loop, of course, has a mic input. So we slapped a Lewitt MTP 440 DM, relatively inexpensive dynamic mic, into it. We also tried it with Lewitt 1040 Air, 140 Air, which is a condenser mic because it has 48 volt phantom power, but that for the cajon gave us way too much input, so we decided to go with the dynamic mic into the Nux, see I can do it, looper, and then into the Mackie Showbox, which they're using for their gigs. So this is actually their setup. This is a real rehearsal. These guys just came over to drink my coffee in rehearse here for free. But they're now part of the video. That's what they got to do. So first we're gonna try to quickly show the using two loops. And Niklas will probably mess that up because he hasn't looped before in his life, and looping needs to be learned. So we're going to show you that, and then how they're going to use it for their Green Day song. Okay, so first the two loops, which might or might not work. But that's not the product, that's him. The producer is bitching about having to refocus. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know, other people work in salt mines or, having to go to an office and work 12 hours a day, but she has to refocus a little bit. And I get, it's fucking me up. She's fucking me up. Okay, anyway. Where was I? Yeah, that worked. It was a bit shaky, but that is something that, as I said previously, you have to learn looping. You have to get a feel for exactly where you're hitting the switches, and especially with two loops that are very rhythmical, where we're not using the built-in drums, because why would we use the built-in drums when we're actually doing drum looping? It is a matter of getting used to it, and he's been working with it for about half an hour, so not quite used yet. So let's go and erase that, please. And both loops erased, and now we're actually just doing one, and they're doing their song, and then we can all get out of here.
No. Scheiße.
Screams in silence, a sudden riot penetrating through her mind, waiting for a sign to smash the silence with a break of self-control. Are you locked up in the world that's been planned out for you? Are you feeling like a social tool without a use? Until my ears bleed, I'm taking it just for you. She's figured out at me until my ears bleed. I'm taking it just for you.
And that's how they would use the Nux stereo looper at a gig. This was recorded with the N28 Nuvo from AEA. In the room, you didn't hear any direct sounds. There was just the room sound from the Mackie Showbox on the couch. I would introduce the group as the group named but do they have a name? Do you even have a name?
No.
Nope. Group's name's Nope. So if you want to go see them, see the tour schedule for... Nope. Thanks, guys. Back to me in Studio A. Okay, so after a very lengthy video, make this big again, let's see. Sorry about all that. Again, and watch Perfecto's video, which is a very good video and shows you other aspects of what the dual loop stereo can do. I love the simplicity. It is rather simple for a complex looper. That's a sentence that works. Price point under 300, absolutely fair. Well built, comes with an extra foot switch. Massive potential to be a super, super cool box. And I'm pretty sure they're going to roll out one update after another, adding things to it. When I got it, it had 2 modes. First update I got, now it has 3 modes. I'm pretty sure that there will be, I mean, from what we just talked about, there could be 5 more modes. And maybe they surprise us every month a new one or whatever. But I have a hunch that they're on it. Because they're not a company that hears what I say and say, we're never going to do anything to this thing. That's not them. So I like what I see and I like where it can go. That's all I got to say to that. I'll put links below so where you can buy it and all that stuff. Please use my links that supports the channel. Hit like and subscribe because that supports the channel. In short, support the channel. There's also Patreon for you who have too much money. And we'll put annals at the end as always.
Hold on tight. There's no one I'd rather have here by my side. I guess that's just married life. You're the most marvelous mother and wife. I promise to hold you tight and give you my love till the day that I die. I guess it's just married life.